Hello and welcome aboard. Iran. Iran is the world's focus today. Please take time and read the excerpts from my book that I published last year. We, mankind, and Earth itself, are shifting. What was will not be much longer. The matrix is rupturing. Old ruling branches and DNA bloodlines are in their twilight. The old guard, the Anglo-Saxon Turonic branch, is collapsing, just as the ruling order on Atlantis fell. This war on Iran is the Anglo-Saxon Teutonic DNA branch resisting a new consciousness for mankind and the future. The future souls, the emerging expanded consciousness, says no to wars and no for a select few to control Earth's resources, while the rest of humanity are nothing more than slaves and livestock. Yes, there's more than bullets, missiles, and geographical borders at play. Empires collapse, and when it happens, consciousness becomes more expanded, more aware, and more communal and caring. Understand that evil wraps itself in false light. Let's proceed. Chapter 19. Root Race 5. Air. The names Ireland, Iran, and Syria have deep linguistic and mythological connections that can be interpreted, especially in the esoteric traditions, as being linked to the Aryan or Aryan root race, particularly as presented in theosophical teachings by Helena Blavatsky and later expanded by Rudolf Steiner. Here's a breakdown of each name and how they may relate to the Aryan root race. Iran. Most direct connection. The name Iran comes from the word Arianum, land of the Aryans. In ancient times, the region was known as Arianum Vaja, which in the Avesta, Zoroastrian scriptures, is described as the original homeland of the Aryans. Esoteric significance. Blavatsky, in The Secret Doctrine, identifies ancient Persia, Iran, as a key stage in the evolution of the fifth root race, Aryan. Zoroastrianism, founded by Zarathustra, Zoroaster, is seen as a continuation of Atlantean spiritual wisdom, now refined through the Aryan mind. Ireland, or Era land. Linguistic theory. The name Ireland is derived from Era, which some researchers have linked to ancient Indo-European roots, possibly tying it to the same Indo-Aryan language family. While this is more speculative, there are intriguing mythological connections. Esoteric tradition. Some esotericists and fringe historians propose that Ireland and Celtic lands preserved Atlantean knowledge, and that the Tuatha De Danann, mythical beings in Irish lore, were survivors of Atlantis or a remnant of earlier Aryan or Atlantean migrations. Blavatsky alludes to the Celtic Druidic traditions as having Aryan roots, spiritually speaking, and believes that certain Druidic practices are Atlantean Aryan in origin. Esoteric view. Blavatsky mentions that ancient Syria, Chaldea, and Babylon were critical transitional cultures through which Atlantean wisdom was handed down to Aryans. Syria acted as a geographic and mystical bridge between the earlier Lemuro-Atlantean spiritual remnants and the emerging Aryan lineages, especially through Hermeticism, Gnosticism, and early solar cults. As already described in Chapter 2 of this book, the term Aryan has nothing at all to do with ethnicity, the colour of one's skin tone, or geographical location. The unlearned perhaps may assume this, but it is a term used in defining Root Race 5, which came after Root Race 4, the Atlanteans. In esoteric philosophy, Iran equals direct cradle of Aryan culture and root race identity. Ireland equals western outpost of Atlantean Aryan wisdom, preserved in myth. Syria equals mystical and geographic bridge between ancient root races and developing Aryan consciousness. In Blavatsky's framework, all three regions can be seen as carriers or remnants of Aryan-rooted spiritual knowledge, though they served different roles in the evolution of the fifth root race. According to esoteric and theosophical teachings, Sumer did indeed receive its development from the Atlantean race, particularly as a post-Atlantean civilization that carried forward remnants of Atlantean spiritual science, technology, and priestly knowledge. Here's how this is presented in the esoteric tradition. Sumer as a descendant of Atlantis. 1. Helena Blavatsky, The Secret Doctrine. Blavatsky states that after the destruction of Atlantis, several colonies of the Atlantean root race migrated to new lands, some eastward into what would become Egypt, India, and Mesopotamia. Sumer, though not named specifically, is placed within this chain of development, seen as a civilization built on the remnants of Atlantean knowledge. The early Sumerians are thus descendants of the fourth root race, Atlanteans, but they also laid the groundwork for the emergence of the fifth root race, the Aryans, our current root race. In summary, Sumer was a child of Atlantis in the esoteric timeline, a post-cataclysmic civilization built by remnants of Atlantean migrants, preserving fragments of higher knowledge through ritual, mathematics, astronomy, and temple science, playing a key role in transmitting Atlantean wisdom into the fifth root race, especially through Egypt, Chaldea, and eventually Greece. Atlantean echoes in Sumer, the path towards Zarathustra. Long before Zarathustra's divine revelation of Ahura Mazda and the two paths, the lands surrounding ancient Mesopotamia were already vibrating with the resonance of a forgotten age. Sumer, the cradle of civilization, did not arise in a vacuum. It carried within its sacred geometry, its priest kings, its star kings, and its star-watching temples, the fading pulse of Atlantis. According to the esoteric teachings of Blavatsky and Steiner, Sumer was a post-Atlantean civilization, seeded by survivors of the cataclysm that submerged Atlantis. The Western Flame. Atlantean echoes in the Americas. As the final cataclysms shook Atlantis, not all of its priest kings and initiates perished beneath the waves. Some sailed westward, guided by celestial knowledge and divine foresight, toward the rising lands of the future, the Americas. There, in the fertile valleys and high mountains of Mexico, Central America, and Peru, they planted the seeds of a second flame. The great pyramids of Teotihuacan, the astronomical precision of the Maya, and the solar temples of the Inca all carry signatures of Atlantean architecture, cosmology, and ritual memory. In Toltec lore, the god Quetzalcoatl arrives. In Toltec lore, the god Quetzalcoatl arrives from the sea, robed in white, bearing sacred knowledge. Robed in white, bearing sacred knowledge. In the Andes, Viracocha emerges after a world flood to restore the Andes. Viracocha emerges after a world flood to restore order and awaken mankind. These aren't isolated myths. They are veiled remembrances of Atlantean initiates, bearing the light of the past into a new age. Yet much was lost. As millennia passed, the wisdom of these ancient colonists was diluted, distorted, or buried, both literally and figuratively. What remains are symbols, both literally and figuratively. What remains are symbols. Stone alignments and sacred legends that whisper of a forgotten greatness. The soul of Atlantis did not vanish. It migrated, fragmented, and went underground, waiting for the moment when its light could rise again. The Americas, like Sumer and Egypt, are not beginnings but echoes of a primordial fire, still burning in the background of history.